So the episode picks up at the firm. Andy and Fatima are discussing their plan to basically take over the firm. At the same exact time, Hayden is on the phone with Gary. He gives him a call and basically says, you know what? I got a proposition for you. I help you clear your name with the feds. In return, you help me destroy Andy Barnes. They make a deal. They're now back on the same team. So it appears that from seasons ago, Andy and Hayden have always been in competition at the firm. Gary is still accusing, however, Andy, while they're on the phone, he's still accusing Andy of being responsible for sending the feds to investigate him. But although Hayden is after Andy, he is being honest and transparent with Gary. And he let him know, like, hey, I don't really think she's the one that told on you, because she's just as shaken up as everybody else. Like, her behavior hasn't changed. So I don't believe that she's the one that did that. At the end of the day, I feel like Hayden is selfish because, like Gary said, like, you just told me basically you ain't fucking with me. And all of a sudden you need my help. He's in it for himself. Hayden don't care about Gary. He don't care about the feds. He don't care about none of that. Like he said, he just told him last episode, hey man, I don't want nothing to do with that. To, oh, I do this for you. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. Like, come on now. So Hayden is in it for himself, and I feel like at any moment he'll turn on Gary if Gary ain't doing what he want him to do. So I feel like he has that fed thing over Gary's head because he can use that against Gary. Like, hey man, if you don't want to help me take her down, then good luck with the feds. As Hayden and Gary are on the phone in this same scene, Gary says that won't know what hit her. As he says that, Penelope pops in and overheard that specific part and asks him, what are you talking about? And so then he gets off of the phone with Hayden. She's like, you know what? Never mind. Don't explain yourself. I shouldn't have walked in unannounced. It was a work call though, right? Like, you're not going to question him, but then turn around and question him. But okay. And so then he's like, what brings you to the office? She's like, well, I think we should talk about our situation. So they have a brief moment about that. And then Hayden ends up calling Gary back. He calls Gary back to basically tell him that Fatima is going to be a problem in this situation with him trying to become partner because she has threatened his life, long story short, and he's scared. So Gary is like, okay, I don't care about her, you know, and Hayden is like, well, yeah, it's easy for you to say because she's not after you, you know, so how are we going to simmer her down so that we can do what we need to do to take over? He then steps out of the office to finish the call. And as he does that, Penelope takes the opportunity to start looking through his things to try to find something incriminating against him to use so that she doesn't have to allow Gary near her child. As she's doing this, she opens up his work drawer and she finds a passport that I'm assuming has a completely different name on it. At that moment, she then calls Andy and is like, hey, we need to talk. Andy's like, is something wrong? She's like, yes, Gary's living a double life. So she then explains to Andy what's going on. She asks her for advice. Andy's like, listen, just send me a picture. Put it back the exact way you found it. We basically don't want him to know we're on to him. So put it back the same way you found it. Send me a picture. That's all the proof we need, basically. So she did that. And then as she was finished doing that, Gary ended up walking in. And then she's like, hey, babe, what took you so long? So I'm wondering how that scene is going to play out. Leave a comment below. How do you guys think this scene is going to play out? Do you guys think that he's just going to brush it off and say, oh, it was nothing, it was just Hayden being Hayden? Or do you think that he's going to question her? Like, what were you doing in here when I left type stuff? So in the comments below, make sure you tell me what you think about the scene. If you are still here, that means you are enjoying my content. So allow me to reintroduce myself or to introduce myself to anybody who is new to the channel. My name is Juju and I am your host. Today we are covering Sistas Season 7, Episode 4. What I'd like for you guys to do, as always, like, comment, and subscribe. Once you subscribe, drop the number subscriber you are in the comment section below and let me know where you are from. I always update you guys on the amount of growth we've had from one video to the next. And this time, you guys, we outdid it. We outdid ourselves. So the last time I spoke to you guys, I was at about 278 subscribers. This time, I am almost at 600 subscribers. So, man, I am almost monetized. I predict that I'll be monetized within the next month. I need you guys to watch the video thoroughly and to the end. That'll help me with my watch hours. And also, if you like the content, like, comment, and subscribe. That's regardless of whatever channel it is. Help us grow, help us get our money, and in return, we'll continue to produce amazing content. Let's get back into the show. I ain't even gonna hold y'all. This scene right here low-key irritated me, and I'm about to get into why. So let's recap it first. Zach comes back to his old job, which is Dani's current job, and asks her for advice. They sit down and they have a discussion about if whether or not he should ask Karen for the DNA test. Now, the part that blew me is because Dani started off being on Karen's side. Like, she has a lot going on. She's single. She just opened up her new shop. Maybe now isn't the best time. And then Zach's kind of sitting there. He's contemplating. He was like, wow, I didn't even think about that. But then as the conversation progresses, she then flips the switch. And in a sense, she kind of confused Zach. Because then Zach was like, okay, maybe I'll just hold off on the DNA test and worry about it at a later time. Dani's like, are you dumb? Like, literally, are you dumb? Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm just giving you the bigger picture, if that makes sense. You need a DNA test. If I were you, I would go demand a DNA test. I wouldn't be paying for a child that I'm not 100% sure is mine. That's what she told him. I was upset about the fact that she contradicted herself, because one minute she's like, oh, well, Karen has this going on. And then when he's like, okay, I hear you, I won't. She's like, are you dumb? So I'm thinking like, whatever. So he's basically like, you just said, she's like, no, like, you need to get the DNA test. And because who's to say if she was sleeping with, now this is the part that kind of blew me. She later then kind of explains why when she's speaking to Tony, which we'll get into. But she could have said what she said and left it at that, because I feel like she's right. If you're unsure if a child is yours, it is in your right to ask for a DNA test, period. She could have stopped it right there. She then went on to say, well, if she was screwing you and basically the preacher man, like, how do we know who else is clapping those cheeks? So then she throws out the idea that Karen is a skeezer, honestly. And then Zach is like, wait a minute, hold on, huh? And then she further goes on to say, well, I know Karen. I've been knowing her since college. And Karen likes big black meat, basically. And so, I'm just saying, get the DNA test. So then Zach has his mind made up after speaking with Dani, and he is going to get the DNA test. I do want to ask you guys what you guys thought about that conversation between Dani and Zach, because I do understand Dani's perspective, because she does like Fatima. And a lot of people, which we'll get into some of the Twitter reactions at the end of the video, so make sure y'all stick it out to the end, because a lot of people on Twitter, it's a lot going on, but we'll get into that. But basically, she's like, I like Fatima. Karen is my friend, but I do like Fatima. And remember one of my last recaps, I told y'all that recap where they were all out to eat and Karen walked in and seen them all happy and turned around. I'm like, Fatima is slowly but surely replacing Karen in that friendship circle. And when I say replacing Karen, now I think about it as not necessarily with Sabrina, but I would say definitely in Fatima's life, and then also in Dani's life. Dani kind of, in a way, prefers Fatima over Karen, because Karen is not the easiest person, as she mentioned to her man. She's not the easiest person to be friends with. I'm not saying I don't love her. I'm not saying she's not my girl, but man, like, I need a break. Like, she can do too much sometimes. She can be a little much. And so then her guy, this same scene, Tony sees Dani sitting on one of the like little benches or whatnot, and she's talking to herself, kind of kicking her own ass about the conversation she had with Zach. She then tells Tony basically what she did, And then she also admitted to Tony, like, this is why I figured out why she said what she said to Zach when she added that little extra razzle dazzle at the end about her liking BBD and stuff. She said to Tony, Karen has always judged me, and now it's her in the hot seat, and she don't like it. That's basically what she told Tony. So I told him to do what was right, because Karen feels like, in a sense, and I'm just kind of rewording what her meaning is, let Karen tell her she don't do nothing wrong, but always want to judge somebody else. And remember, her mom and Pam was in the shop scene basically telling her, you're a little judgmental. So here it is, your own friend telling her man, like, Karen likes to judge me, And now it's her turn to be judged, and she doesn't like it. And it's not fair to Fatima, nor is it fair to Zach, for her to do a process of elimination DNA test to say that this is this man's child. Like, that's crazy, So I do get her perspective in terms of the way that she feels about Karen. I feel like she was more comfortable opening up a little bit to Zach about, well, she liked BBD, and, I've been knowing her since college. Because keep in mind that her and Zach are also cool too. A lot of people missed seeing Zach and Dani on their TV screens together. So last night when they had that sit down was a refreshing moment for a lot of people. And you got to keep in mind too, Dani is cool with Zach, cool with Karen, and she's now becoming more cool with Fatima. So if you ask me, she's stuck in the middle in a way, which is kind of what Tony mentioned to her when they were talking. But I feel like everything she said during that conversation with Zach was valid, except when she added the little razzle dazzle at the end, basically insinuating that her friend is a skeezer. Because that's going to translate into the energy that Zach brings into her shop when he asks her for that DNA test. But we'll get into that next. Let me know what you guys think about this scene below. So this next scene I'll touch on very, very quickly because it's not that deep. But basically, Sabrina and her annoying ass coworker, Paige, are now going to be in competition for the new branch manager position. The district manager walked into the Brookhaven Bank, basically let both ladies know that they are both good candidates for the position, and she encouraged them both to apply. Who do you guys think will actually get the position? I feel like if Paige gets it, she's literally going to make Sabrina's life a living hell. If Sabrina gets it, she's going to give Paige a dose of her own medicine. But who will get it? I don't know. But the people on Twitter are saying that they think Maurice might get it, which is definitely going to be a plot twist for sure. But let me know what you guys think below in the comments. And then now we'll get into the scene at Karen's shop, which is also a pretty short scene as well. So here we are at Karen's shop, and she's sitting there thinking about Trey because she feels that she offended him when she questioned his education status. He got offended, or at least it appeared that he was offended, because she questioned, like, oh, you went to college? As if he was just some basic, typical guy. And so in this scene here, Pam and her mother, Karen's mother, they kind of mentioned to her how she's a snob. She's an asshole. And so Karen is basically like, what? If I'm such a snob and I'm such an asshole, like, how the hell did I get pregnant by Zach? And so BBD, that's all I can think of, BBD. And of course, because Zach had started to move on at that time, she wanted to feel like she still had a hold on him. So that's how your dumbass got pregnant, to answer your question. But basically, her mom and Pam basically was like, you're an asshole, and, it wouldn't hurt to lighten up a little bit and not be so judgmental. And so later on, Karen is then she's balancing her checkbooks or whatnot. And she comes to the conclusion that she's going to have to rob Peter to pay Paul to keep her shop going. Here comes Pam, like, girl. And I don't like people who try to use men for child support because your business is failing. Like, no. Pam basically like, well, that child support finna be coming, so you'll be good. Basically, like, just hang in there, basically. And it's like, okay, well, for one, the child support is to support the child, not to help her support her shop. That's for one. And if she's not financially capable of taking care of that child when Zach is, if I was Zach, I'm not paying nobody nothing. I'm going to take custody of my child. Of course, Karen is going to fight that because Fatima is over there. She hates Fatima's guts. But I'm just thinking, along the lines here. If it were me in this situation and I were Zach, and you feel like you need child support from me, I'm going to court for full custody. Like, I'm not going to keep paying bitches child support. Like, we're not doing that. And you're not going to use my child support to help keep your failing shop afloat. We're not doing that. But I guess let me know what you guys think about that little scene there. Like, it just always seems like Pam said, you always got a frown on your face. And she wonders why her friends don't be coming around. Like, people don't want to be around negative energy, a negative Nancy all the time. Like, it's like she always complaining, judgmental, upset. It's like always something with Karen. I don't really, from season 1 to now, I don't see her character ever being happy or ever being like content and satisfied. It's always something with her. Like, hell, Dani ain't the only one to need counseling. So does Karen, because something is going on with her. Like, she's just always in a shitty mood and has not the best attitude. So I guess let me know what you guys think about that scene as well. And we'll go ahead. We're almost towards the end. We're going to go ahead and get into the scene where Fatima walks into Hayden's office. So Big Tima bogars her way into Hayden's office. And long story short, basically lets him know, I know that bullshit you on. I'm already knowing what you on because I know you want that position. Because remember, like I said, Andy and Hayden have a history of being in competition for positions at this firm. So Big Tima already all over it. She went in there and basically told him, you gonna be on a t-shirt if you play with her. And I'm just letting you know that right now. Don't play with her. If you gonna get that position, basically get it fair. But don't be sitting here trying to pull no shiesty to get that position. Like, we not having that. So as y'all recall earlier in this recap, I mentioned how Gary and Hayden were on the phone. That's when Hayden had ended up calling Gary and was like, yo, listen, we got to do something about Fatima. He's scared. Long story short, he's scared. And this is another example why I feel that Karen is going to slowly be replaced by Fatima. I'm not saying like her character is going to be like gone off of the show, but I feel like in terms of the friendship circle, Fatima is inching her way into that Karen spot. And it's because she always has Fatima's back. She had Fatima back at the very, very beginning. And it's like, not Fatima. She always has Andy's back. And so, Andy, in this whole situation, I think she's so gullible because her and Hayden done somewhat kind of gotten cool, quote unquote, after conversating about Gary and how he's been acting lately. So I think that at this moment, Andy's not going to know what hit her. But it's Fatima that's going to make sure nothing does hit her, if that makes sense. Andy is just worried about the whole Fed thing and Gary and the firm and all of this. She's not worried about being backstabbed to get to this position. So that's why I feel like, in a sense, Fatima is slowly but surely replacing Karen. She's one step ahead. She always has Fatima's back. And, I mean, who wouldn't replace a friend like that? Would you want a friend that's always nagging and angry and complaining? Or would you want a friend that always has your back, always going to give you the best advice, always going to tell you when you right or when you wrong? A friend that's not going to slap your other friend because she been giving me a hard time? Like, which friend would you prefer? Like, let's just call a thing. Which friend would you prefer? Like, let's just be real. So that's that on that. And we're going to wrap this scene up. We're going to wrap this episode up with the scene at Rich's restaurant where Andy, Jordan, and then Sabrina and Maurice meet up there. So I'm not even going to lie. This scene irritated me too. And specifically the scene with Sabrina and Maurice. If y'all haven't watched my previous recaps, I could care less about Maurice as a character on the show. But one of the reasons why is because as a friend, Sabrina is telling him like how Rich doesn't want kids and how that's pretty much a deal breaker for her. And, you know, venting to a friend about her current situation. And this moron, he's basically telling her, okay, get over it. Like, get over it. You'll be fine. And to settle, if you ask me. And I didn't like that. I would never in my life tell my friend to settle. I would never in my life tell my friend to settle for something, knowing what she wants. And that's what she said. Like, Maurice, you know I want kids. Like, how do you know what your friend wants? Know that the guy that she's dealing with doesn't want that and tell her to settle. Why would she be settling? What would she be settling for? He never mentioned that. He just basically said, girl, get over it. You'll be all right. You got over blue contacts or whatever type of BS he said that really has nothing to do and is not even on the same level as wanting kids. So I just didn't, I don't like Maurice's character. I'm sorry. He irks my nerve. And furthermore, just really dismissing and minimizing what she want out of life. Like she said, what woman or what person doesn't want kids and want their own family and want to raise somebody and, just have someone to love and to love you back unconditionally? He's like, shit, I don't. Okay, well, that's you. You can't have kids. So we're not talking about you. We're talking about the typical woman, such as myself. And so I just think that he just was too dismissive of her. And I didn't like that. But then shortly after, Andy and Jordan came in, and they were all kind of chit-chatting. And if I'm not mistaken, did he try to hit on Jordan when Jordan shook his hand? And he was like, now, if you just let go of that such and such. And I think he was referring to Andy. I can't recall exactly what he said, but it seems like he was hitting on him. Again, disrespectful. That's disrespectful. He's here with his woman. He was like, if you don't let go of my or something he said when he shook his hand. Y'all got to drop it in the comments what he said, because I forgot. I'm going to have to go back and watch it on my Fire Stick and rewind that part. But to me, I took it as he was trying to hit on Jordan. For one, this is a straight man, clearly. For two, well, I can't say clearly, but he's a straight man that we know of. And then for two, he's in here with his woman. Like, Maurice is just so disrespectful. I don't like his character. I don't like how entitled his character feels. I don't like how his character doesn't take anything seriously. I just do not like his character, and I do not understand the purpose of him being here. I don't like him. But then moving forward, Sabrina and Maurice, eventually they leave. While Sabrina and Andy were there together, though, they did ask each other, like, hey, have you talked to Karen? Both of them said no. They both have a lot of stuff going on in their careers that has taken a toll on their involvement with Karen. And I feel like they don't really have time for her, And I think that's okay. Like, the world does not revolve around Karen. I do understand Karen being upset last episode because they promised they was going to come help her set up and all this. I get that, because this is your friend. This is her grand opening. Like, be there to support her. I get that. But the sun does not rise and set on Karen. Like, y'all got your own shit going on, So just because y'all not pregnant don't mean that y'all don't have other priorities. Doesn't mean that y'all have to put Karen above all. Nobody told Karen to go fucking on somebody that didn't want her. So that was her fault. Nobody told her to open her legs when she had already opened her legs prior to somebody else. Like, nobody told Karen to do that. She put herself in the situation thinking she was going to win Zach back, and it backfired. So come again. So I don't know. But I thought it was funny how when her phone rang and it was Penelope, she told Jordan it was a work call. This is work. I got to take that. I don't know if y'all caught that, but like, girl, you should know your work numbers. And that doesn't appear to be a work number. It was literally Penelope calling you to tell you that Gary is Gary. Basically, Gary is Gary. But and that's what a lot of people was like, okay, girl, like, you already knew he was living a double life when you figured out he was giving all of y'all the same ring. He bought y'all all the same things. He proposed to y'all. Like, he's been living a double life, girl. Tell us something we don't know. So that's that on that. Now we're about to get into, really, we just finna touch on this because it's not really much to talk about. But this is when Zach walked into Karen's shop. And he was very aggressive. You can tell he was not in there on no kumbaya. He went in there to stand straight on business. So basically, he walked into the shop. Okay, so he walks into the shop. He's going around the shop, calling Karen's name as if it's an emergency. Karen finally comes out like, hey, what's up, Zach? If you're coming for the grand opening, you're a day late and $1 short. And he basically was like, not here for that. I need my DNA test. Just got straight to the point. I like it. And she was like, are you accusing me of sleeping around? And then that's when Trey, I believe that's his name, the delivery guy, walked up. And then we see him say, I don't want no problem. Some of this is leading into the previews, right? And so how do y'all think this scene is going to go? Because the next episode 5, is going to pick up where this scene left off. Normally it picks up on the last scene of the episode. And so here's my prediction. And mark this, because I feel like I'm going to be right. And this is why Dani was talking to Tony, and she was like, I think I done up. So as I was saying before, I got rudely interrupted by a phone call, because y'all know I be doing this while I'm at work. Zach is going to walk in there as aggressive as he did at the end of the episode. He's going to demand that DNA test. Karen asked, as we saw in the previews, so you're accusing me of sleeping around? That's when he's going to say, yes, I am. I really feel like, yeah, he's going to say something along those lines based on what Dani told him. Or he might say something, well, according to your friends, or, something along those lines. And then that's when Karen is going to be like, so Dani, you the one told him to come up here. That's how I think it's going to go. That's the only way it can go. Because why would she feel bad for telling him to get a DNA test? And then I think that's when Dani is going to tell Karen, like, well, if he's the father, what's the problem with getting a test? Because let's be real, you were with the preacher man at that time. Like, I think Dani is going to, like, play them aces of spades on her. Like, let's call a thing now. We know you. We know you. The college you. We know you. Like, let's not do that. So I kind of think that's how the conversation at the shop is going to go. And then you have the Trey guy who's going to walk up and say, I don't want no problems. And then you're going to have Zach looking like, oh, so is this your new man? And you're currently pregnant? Like, girl, yes, I need that DNA test. Is he the dad? Like, I think he's going to really take it there. Like, think about it. You got this man walking up on me, the person that's supposed to be your baby daddy, talking about I don't want no problems. So if you don't want no problems, move around. Like, what are you here for? Like, this is an A-B conversation. See your way out, So that's how I think that conversation is going to go. I feel like I'm about 95% right. But tell me what y'all think. And before we get up out of here, we're going to talk about how the writers, because on Twitter, I don't know if you guys are on Twitter, but every Wednesday after the show, the writers of the show actually go into a Twitter space and they answer all of the questions that the fans want to know. And so one of the things that has been going on, being posted on Twitter after the show, is that the writers are saying that Karen never took a DNA test. So this is where they're going to blow me, because let's not pretend like there was the season 6 or something. Let's not pretend like it damn near wasn't a whole season about this DNA test and how Aaron looked at a piece of paper and said that he misread it, but thought he was the father. Let's not forget about the email that, was it Andy received or Fatima, one of them received while they was at the firm with the DNA test results. And Karen's like, well, did you open the email? Did you see the email? Like, so what do you mean? What do they mean that there was no DNA test? Like, that's crazy. Like, stop trying to make the viewers seem like we tripping. We've been watching this shit since season 1. Like, there was so much DNA talk. She even admitted to, or there was even a conversation about, well, she didn't get a direct DNA test from Zach because she never had his DNA. So she used Aaron's, which I believe she even said, to basically exclude him. So how is it that all of a sudden now in season 7, she never took a DNA test? Like, how is this plot going to twist? Like, we've been watching the show. Like, I don't like when people try to make me feel like I'm crazy, because these writers, they need to get their shit together. And it was one thing on Twitter that I promise you, and I'm going to post a couple of things here that really stood out to me. But one person was like, see, what happens is y'all black writers and y'all black producers like Tyler Perry, y'all give us this bullshit. But then we have to go over to the white networks who give us the real good, juicy storylines. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this, I like Tyler Perry shows, but let's be real, his shit be all over the place. Like, it does. And right when you're almost about to check out, he reels you back in. So he does have a good way of doing that, which is why people have been watching this shit for so long. But the fact that he gonna sit here and say, or they gonna sit here and try to say that she never took a DNA test, like, come on, man. Like, stop playing with the people. Like my brother used to say when he was little, stop playing with the people. I ain't playing with the people, so stop playing with the people. But let's go ahead and get into some of these tweets, and then we'll get up out of here. So in regards to the DNA test and who could potentially be the father, one Twitter user said, everybody forgot about Rico. I'm like, who is that? The person said Karen fuck buddy when she was mad at Zach. And I said, oh, I'm definitely finna have to refresh on that. Thanks. Do y'all remember this person named Rico? Because I swear, I just don't. I don't remember. It be so much going on. I don't remember a Rico. But let me know if y'all do. Another Twitter user commented stating, I'm not understanding the games the writers are playing with the DNA test. Someone else stated, I need Tyler Perry's writers to get it together when it comes to this paternity test. I'm convinced nobody on the team has been pregnant or known a pregnant woman. Y'all got Karen getting tested every other episode, for real. I then posed the question, how did Karen not get a DNA test when Aaron said he saw a test and was under the impression it was his until Karen told him it wasn't? If y'all remember, she had to sit him down at her kitchen table, have him reread the test, and clarify that it's not your baby. And then to piggyback off of what this person mentioned, I honestly feel like at this point, Karen feels like she's lost. Lost to Fatima, lost Zach. Because Zach is now the man that she wanted him to be all along throughout that relationship. But Karen wasn't the woman that Zach needed in order to get him to that next level. That's why he's with Fatima, and that's why she hates Fatima's guts. And so I feel like at this point, yeah, she wants Zach to be the dad, not only because he's successful and he has money, but because she wants him and she can't have him. So the only thing she can have is his baby. And from what we know now, she never took a DNA test, so who's to say if it's even his baby? But I feel like she's trying to hold on to this Zach is the daddy thing because that's as close to Zach as she'll ever get, and she actually wants more. She wants him. So what do you guys think about that? Couple more tweets and then we'll get out of here because the people are really calling out the contradictions within the show. So do Sistas on BET writers think we have amnesia? What did happen to Gary's 2 kids from his previous marriage? Remember, I asked y'all that on a previous recap, season 7 recap. Go back and watch my other recaps. Wasn't him being investigated by the feds when he transferred all that money to Andy on season 2? Child, it's you see what I'm saying? A lot of people are like, what's going on? What's going on, Tyler? What's going on? Next, did season 7's writers watch earlier shows? I thought Karen bought the building. And she was compassionate about Zach's other kid last season. Also, hasn't Gary been in trouble with the feds before? Keep it tight, writers. That's 2 people in a row calling out the same thing. So I'll leave off with this because a lot of people were commenting on the way that Zach approached Karen in the shop. And so I had to go back and think like, why did he have that energy? And so I feel as though if I was in his position, and this is what I tweeted. Y'all got to keep in mind that Dani basically just told Zach in so many words, Karen is a little skeezer on the low. And him knowing he was with her at some point probably has him thinking, was she cheating on me? He definitely approached her like the skeezer Dani made her out to be. Remember, he just showed up with flowers at the grand opening to ask her in a better way. After Dani said what she said about Karen, he like, man, that. I'm about to ask. I don't give a F. So I feel like that's why he approached Karen the way that he did, because prior to new knowledge, he was on some cool, calm, collected. And her mom was the one that was like, you know what? You're smelling all good. You got the roses. Think about it. Think how he was finna ask her one day and then turn around, get some information about her, and then walk in there the next day with a different type of energy. He's not going to go in there with roses and smelling good the next time he go up in there. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like that was why he approached Karen the way that he did. Let me know if you guys agree with me. I'm about to get out of here. I'm done for the night. Deuces.